Star Wars 7x7, episode 2247. So we're back to finishing our conversation about Clone Wars stories of light and dark. All of the stories are inspired by episodes or story arcs from the series, but only one of them is actually an original story that goes beyond anything that happened in those stories, and that's the one we're going to talk about today. Punch it! Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod, and this is Star Wars 7x7, your daily dose of Star Wars joy. And thank you so much for joining me for it. So we're going to talk about a story called Bug by E. Anne Convery. This is her first Star Wars story, and it is a rather remarkable and memorable one. So it builds on the episode Massacre, which is from the Clone Wars, where the Separatists, under the command of Count Dooku and General Grievous, come to wipe out the Night Sisters of Dathomir. And I have to tell you, and I've probably told you this before actually, but I am a sucker for a good love story, and so I do really enjoy Kenobi's Shadow. It's one of my favorites in this, but I have to say I think Bug is my favorite of all of them, and I was rather surprised that's the case. I mean, especially when you have all these stories with all these characters in whom you're invested, and so that already kind of gives you a leg up to liking and enjoying them, but this one, which, features, in flashback, if you will, in a story within a story, characters that you've seen in Clone Wars, it mostly deals with two particular characters, one named Falta and one named Bug, the eponymous Bug. And yet the story itself is just really captivating. It's something that could just as easily have been in George Mann's Star Wars Myths and Fables or Dark Legends. It takes place on an Outer Rim world called Sidi, S-I-D-I, and it's hard not to see that or hear it and think S-E-E-D-Y, because it is kind of a seedy, rundown planet. There's not a lot of life on it. In fact, there is an inn and a military communications relay tower, and the innkeepers charge an arm and a leg for people to be able to access it for the poor souls that actually end up on CD for whatever reason. But there aren't a lot of people who generally come to this wayward place, but in the Clone Wars, during this time of tumult, there are a lot more people coming, refugees coming through and that sort of thing. And so this is how the innkeepers are making their money. The innkeepers have a daughter whose name has been lost to memory and is just referred to as Bug. And she is the poor, unfortunate daughter of these innkeepers, and they don't treat her very nicely. But one of the things that Bug likes to do to escape her, difficult days is to go up into that communications relay tower and to listen to messages that happen to get picked up by the tower. And one fateful night, she happens to hear a message that seems like it's coming from Dathomir. It's not a place that she's heard of, but it is a communication that relates to the events that happened in that Clone Wars episode. And not too long after that, a ship filled with refugees happens to arrive on CD, and lo and behold, a woman named Falta arrives there, who herself happens to be a Night Sister, and yes, happens to be a refugee from that particular battle. And so one night, Falta and Bug are sitting by the fire in the common room of the inn together, and how that happens is, read the story and you'll find out, but Falta says, "Do you like stories?" Real intimidating like, and after a couple of tense exchanges, Falta agrees to tell Bug the story of what happened on Dathomir, although that's not, the initial inn. It's not like, "Tell me what happened on Dathomir." It's Falta saying, "Do you like stories? Well, I'll tell you one." And tells her a story that's adjacent to the story that happened in Massacre in the Clone Wars episode. And the story centers around the fact that the Night Sisters use a kind of dark magic, and basically like the Force essentially, but a different kind of manifestation of the Force, if you will, because it is tied into nature a little bit more deeply than, say, what the Jedi and Sith use. And the way that the Night Sisters do it, or at least, that particular group of witches, one of the things they do is, reanimating the, souls of their passed on Night Sisters, and they do that as part of, creating an army to fight Dooku and the droids and all that stuff. But Falta happens to think that this is an unnatural thing. And so instead of reanimating the dead from, with dark magic, she decides to figure out how to bring about new life with the equivalent to the light side of the Force, light magic. And so she is able to create a Night Sister immaculately, like completely immaculately, by the name of Yenna. She names her Yenna, and this story is about how Yenna, grows up, is, catches the eye of Mother Talzin and everything that happens from that point on. And from there, it really does become, for all intents and purposes, like a dark fairy tale, like something that really, I think I said this already, would have found, a great home in the pages of, say, Dark Legends or in Star Wars Myths and Fables. Probably more of a dark legend kind of thing, I would say. It's really well done, and I hope we get to read more from her. I found out something after the fact that, kind of was like, oh, really? Wow, what are the chances? And I want to share that with you in just a moment, but I do also want to share with you that the fine folks at Audible are offering you a free audiobook and a free 30-day trial if you go to sw7x7.com/audible. They're letting us offer that to you through us. And Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark is a terrific thing that you can use that initial credit on if you want to try it out. I've had the opportunity to listen to it. It is really great, and Bug is particularly atmospheric in the way that it's delivered, and Catherine Tabor does a fantastic job with it. So one more time, sw7x7.com/audible for a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial. And thank you so much for considering it and supporting the show. So here's the fun fact I learned after finishing Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark. Anne Convery is actually married to Dave Filoni. Yeah, that's right. Dave Filoni is her husband. And her last name, Convery, is the inspiration for the word convor. Those are the birds that have that very strong symbolic Force representation and meaning that shown up in Star Wars Rebels, right? And also, I think, was it in the Clone Wars too? Yeah, in the Clone Wars too. Anyway, so my goodness, we have a powerhouse Star Wars storytelling couple in Dave Filoni and Anne Convery. And I have to say, I hope to high heaven that we get more from Anne Convery, because this was great. And if, this is what she can do with a short story, like, let's find out what she can do with a longer story. Let's find out what she can do with something animated. Heck, with live action, why not? Like, I understand that, sometimes you kind of gotta work up the ranks in a way from a Star Wars publication perspective, but man, oh man, what a great debut. And yeah, I feel like, this could be the start of something really remarkable. So anyway, there you go. That is going to do it for this episode of the show today. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always. And may the Force be with you, wherever in the world you may be.
Star Wars 7x7 is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox, and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2020 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.